You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't.
No, stop! What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? Me! What am I doing with my life? I could be doing anything, but no!
I feel within me a peace above all earthly dignities, a still and quiet conscience.
Well, I'm back in the shit. So about 5 months ago, I decided to poke the brony community with a comically large spoon. In response to this deed, they decided to launch a full frontal assault on my house. Because of this attack, I was forced into hiding in a shelter, but what was originally supposed to be a few weeks in a shelter turned into a couple of months. This is because I misplaced the key. However, I'm back now. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the first video, which was a masterpiece, allow me to give you a quick rundown. Last time on Beanies' Slow Descent into Madness, we got introduced to equestrian lore, the power of lesbianism, magical bullshit, and Spike. Our main cast of shitheads, Twilight, Applejack, Rainbow Dash, Rarity, Fluttershy, and the Menace Pinkie Pie, all did their various acts of homo and turned Celestia's kink sister into a vanilla woman. And now Twilight lives in Ponyville to learn more about the magic of friendship, whatever the fuck that is. Because of the two-part nature of these episodes, I ranked them as one and gave them a solid 4 out of 5 sparkle fags on the scale, which is pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. And now, we continue with the next 3 episodes. Because much like a masochist living with a sadistic goth mommy roommate, I always come back. The episode starts off wonderfully. Applecest and Mary Sue Horse are walking in Sweet Apple Acres, having just finished up a hard work shift. This is because Applejack made a bet with Big Macintosh. In this bet she made, she asked Twilight for help, so keep that in mind, as it will be important later. Spike doesn't care about the labor they did, and is instead looking through their work for something to fill his stomach, throwing away any sustenance he deems unworthy. The lesbians discuss economics and the consequences of living in a matriarchal society before getting into an argument with Spike. Faced with the prospect of being abused as usual, Spike burps out a letter from, oh my god, Princess Celestia! The letter contains a letter and Spike reads it. Twilight, despite no longer legally being a citizen of our fair Canterlot, I still wish for you to come to the Grand Galloping Gala festivities. I shall permit you entry along with a guest, as long as they're not black.
My little pony, my little pony.
What the fuck is happening? So the tickets, right? They allow entry into the Grand Galloping Gala, a lavish party for Canterlot citizens. You know, wealthy.
Scum.
And there's 2 of them, see? Intended for Twilight and Spike, former citizens of the royal city. This would have been easy enough if this message had been done in private. However, Spike instead chose to read this out in the open, and Twilight just fucking let him for some reason. This is now why the conflict will start, because Appleshit heard it. And we start the first scene of many of Twilight's friends explaining why they should be the ones to go to the gala. Spoiler alert, before we get into it, Applejack's is the only good reason. She wishes to go to the gala so she can sell Type 1 narcotics to the rich and wealthy. With the money she earns from the massive sales, she plans to fix up her family's barn and help her grandmother get surgery. And because of all these improvements and money-making opportunities, it means she could finally quit the drug business and return to the farm's original purpose of selling apples. In my humble opinion, this is a good and valid reason as to why Applejack should be the one to go. It is a noble, selfless reason that's about improving her family's life. However, before anything can get finalized, we... God damn it. So, the other tomboy pony was taking a nap on private property, and despite the owners of this private property being from the south, she didn't get shot. She claims that she had been dreaming and just woke up in time to eavesdrop on this conversation, and now explains why she should be the one to go to the gala. This entails Rainbow explaining a fanfiction about going to the fancy people party to meet her idols the Wonderbolts, and force a conversation with them. She plans to do this by illegally interrupting a professional air show. Without coordination, and doing tricks so good they Wonderboltize her on the spot. So Rainbow is as usual having a me show. Her reason somehow makes Twilight second guess bringing Applejack despite AJ having the only valid reason. This then causes the two to butt heads and engage in the tradition of hoof wrestling. No, not that footage. Oh god, oh shit! Twilight is just too nice and leaves the two to settle it and fuck. Diagonally wipe transitions into town. Twilight talks about her internal struggles with Spike while walking through hell and then asks where the two should eat. And at this time, they just so happen to be walking past. This makes twice now in this episode alone that somebody has crashed into our titular Mary Sue. This little roll around in the dirt leads to Pinky realizing that she has to get involved in this plotline. She does this because she immediately assumes that the tickets are for her and proceeds to do a song number. Twilight is about to explain to Pinkie Pie why she needs to hold her horses when...
Hello?
Ah, where do they keep coming from? Our favorite racist lesbian decides that this episode doesn't have enough brain aids and forcefully inserts herself into the plot the same way the ATF does when someone has a dog. Much like Rainbow, Rarity writes a fanfic, this time being about meeting the prince of her dreams and having a romance despite not being of royal descent and also living in the slums. This act of courtsmanship would likely result in her swift and immediate execution via hanging, but Rarity has that nah, I'd win energy, so who cares? So she attempts guilt tripping because she's a manipulative bitch despite what the last episode may have told us. We then witness Spike fall victim to inner city behavior.
Pussy, 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 pussy.
What the dog doing?
Twilight begins to explain to the needy ones when Fluttershy also gets interlaced into the plot. The more the merrier, that's what I say! Okay, fine, that's cool and all, but what is Fluttershy's reason? She's the last person who would want to go to a fancy party. Oh, she wants to go sexually harass animals in the gardens. Well, I guess that's about what I expected. Let's see now. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3...
Wait just a minute. Rainbow Dash.
4...
Wait just another
5... Well, that's the main 6. It's time for them to act like conquerors. Shut the fuck up! Twilight, being emotionally compromisable and weak, is about to have a panic attack, but instead channels her inner motherly instincts by telling everybody to be quiet. As you can see, she even manages to get Pinkie Pie to shut up. That's talent. All of you loudmouth scum aren't making this decision of mine any easier. In fact, it's active.
Twilight.
Bitch, I'm talking! So all of you, leave me alone. Go!
Be gone!
Her words are so scary even Spike leaves, but where the fuck is he going? You're supposed to stay with Twilight, you dumb asshole. What the fuck am I doing? Of course he teleports into the next scene, however. We find Twilight mildly unhappy as Spike looks at the menu of the restaurant they're at. She starts to go more into her internal struggles, seemingly not understanding the concept of nobility as she says every one of her friends had a good reason to go to the party, which is bullshit. She also explains how mathematics and emotions work. Incorrectly, mind you. See how this flower has 7 petals? Twilight picks 5, and then it no longer has petals when the scene transitions back. Also, Monch.
You made your decision.
Why does this dirt restaurant have a French accented waiter? Do French people exist in My Little Pony? He also spawned in at the wrong time and got yelled at, as you saw. Spike is sick of this shit and Twilight orders a
daffodil and daisy sandwich.
And Spike just does Spike things. He doesn't give a shit about Twilight's problems because he's abused and is turning into an abuser. The pipeline continues. Twilight starts explaining the FNAF lore and gets interrupted by food. Forced perspective happens and we get this lovely scene of Rainbow trying to manipulate Twilight. Twilight is stupid and once again ends up wet after zipper noises. This show makes my job way too easy. So her food is ruined and Rarity just kind of spawns in. Much like their first meeting, Rarity notices the hairstyle of a different culture and forcefully confines Twilight to the re-education facility. Twilight, already understanding the assignment, quickly dries off, leaving Rarity the wet one, who immediately dries off in between shots. The fixed hair doesn't stop Twilight from getting touched against her will. I'm just gonna play this scene unedited.
Rarity! Ow! This really is a biscuit. I mean, thank you, but that's too tight.
So after that, she feminizes Spike, and then gets herself fixed up. Her true motives are revealed at last. The supposedly selfless pony is a manipulative bitch. Spike, having abandoned Twilight, leaves her at the mercy of a southerner! What the fuck happened to the rain? Applejack brought food for Twilight. While being a manipulation tactic, it's at least a little more selfless than anything the other main characters have done. Twilight rejects it anyway, despite it all. After a power walk home, no, great, it's Fluttershy breaking the fourth wall. She is also taking place in the manipulation by cleaning Twilight's library treehouse. The thief from earlier is tossing salads, but not in prison, surprisingly. We also learn that he dictates Fluttershy's life an entire choice of actions. Boo! My ADHD brain hasn't been stimulated in 3 seconds. Something interesting needs to happen now! I am satisfied. Song number and another moment where Pinkie Pie gets yelled at. Twilight falls on the ground for the however many times it's happened number. Because there is now an audience and Pinkie Pie can't keep her mouth shut, every recolored woman knows about the ticket and all try offering favors. We get a chase scene with a very strange cover of Yakety Sax that I can't play for copyright reasons. They end up quartered. In a last-ditch effort to save her dignity, Twilight pulls a Boston Marathon and explodes herself and Spike. Why? Because they set their respawn point in the library and keep inventory is on. They board up the home like there's a BLM protest happening outside and breathe a sigh of relief when... Twilight has a mental breakdown, which makes her and her friends all sad and guilty. Applejack and Fluttershy are the first to say they don't want the ticket anymore in a pseudo-apology, followed by Pinkie and Rarity. The only one who doesn't is the selfish
Scum.
Rainbow Dash, who relishes in her victory. Of course, she gets shot down by dirty looks and makes an excuse for why she doesn't need the ticket to save her worthless ego and sin of pride. With the episode coming to a close, Twilight makes an executive decision to write a letter and send the tickets back. Dear Princess Celestia, thanks but no thanks. I'm not going if I can't bring all my fuck buddies. Sorry, your favorite student, Twomo Storkel. And with that, they send the tickets back. Celestia just responds by sending 6 tickets instead. Also an extra for Spike, who reveals his tsundere nature. Roll credits now!
I'm Hank Steele, the real queer cowboy.
The episode begins with an establishing shot of Sweet Apple Acres and its impressive size. A size that fluctuates every time, I tell you. That or I'm just stupid. Apple Snatch is discussing this with her injured brother Big Macintosh, who actually gets dialogue in this episode. The dialogue in question being dedicated to him having a stupid moment and making the grave mistake of telling a woman she can't do something. After sending out her Me Too twit longer, Applejack mislabels herself here, claiming to be the most loyal of all ponies, when in fact, she's supposed to be the most honest. So, remember how in the last episode, Applejack asked Twilight to help her with a little bet she made that involved bucking apples? Can you guess what the fucking conflict is here? Big Macintosh very reasonably tells her the truth of, you cannot do this because there is far too much for one pony. This is where Applejack makes the all too familiar sin of pride occur. Big Macintosh was speaking intelligently, which most Southerners take offense to, so she responds by spearheading that she don't need help from no pony, and that she'll do it alone. Her last remaining intelligent brain cells realize what just happened, but it's too late as... After having my ears stimulated by musical music that counts as music because it has all the qualities of music, we're in the orchard with Applejack. She's just about to get it started when the ground starts shaking the same way your mother's bed shakes when your father had a stressful day at work. This random earthquake is caused by a stampede of cows barreling towards the fair rundown scumsack Ponyville. While the town panics, Pinkie Pie does this. Okay. Before we move on real quick, I need to show you this. This is off script. While editing this video, I go through it really slow so I end up seeing a lot of stuff I probably shouldn't be seeing. And I got this frame where Twilight is a Cyclops. Just enjoy its beauty. The mayor of Ponyville, being a Giga Chad, just kind of stands there and tells the panicking citizens to have dignity and maintain an air of calm control. Tabitha St. Germain has time for theater kid shenanigans, and Rainbow points out what's going on. In the middle of this stampede is Applejack and her dog? Objection! Okay, this dog right here, right? Her name is Winona. Notice how she is a very dog-looking dog. Now, I know Equestria Girls was made far after this, but I'm gonna bring this up. When Twilight and Spike go into the humanized reality, Spike turns into this abomination, which is not a dog-looking dog. So, what would happen if this dog-looking dog in the pony world ventured into the humanized world? Would she change at all, or would she stay as a dog? The rules don't make sense! While the others stand around and talk encouragingly at a volume just slightly above room conversation, Jack Apple and her dog Winona do some impressive tactical maneuvers. Just watch this bullshit for a second. That Applejack has enough jaw strength to steer a stampering adult cow away from a town, and this somehow makes all the other cows turn as well and come to a stop. We get this joke where the cow speaks cow and then clears her throat and reveals she's from Minnesota. How do I know she's from Minnesota? Well, she hits us with this banger
don't you know?
line right after she explains why this whole disaster happened. In fact, this whole stampede was caused by the same reason my uncle's court case was. A snake where it shouldn't be. So what happens after all this? Applejack disappears to do hard manual labor as the rest of the town organizes an awards ceremony where the other members of the group talk about the other ways they plan to exploit Apple. This is a ceremony that Jack shows up late to, very clearly messed up. She stumbles in like a drunk stepdad without pants to claim a reward and leaves without elaboration. That scene in total is 3 fucking minutes, by the way. You're welcome. Twilight, wondering if Apple Smack regressed into her old habits, goes to check on her and finds her unresponsive and leaned over. Don't do fent, kids. After waking up from her drug-induced standing sleep paralysis, she goes to help Rainbow practice for a trick. Slapstick ensues. Applejack flattens her face. Rainbow Dash ends up getting turned into a lesbian-shaped Angry Bird and crashes right into the treehouse. Flying well, I see. I don't think it's me you should be concerned about. Applejack. Yeah. After a slight conversation, Rainbow Dash perishes from cringe. Applejack is actually conscious when Twilight comes to see her, but due to poor spatial awareness from the sleepless nights, she gives herself a minor concussion. It almost reminds me of that time when her and Rarity... Keep your ship wars out of my comments. Pride dictates this conversation, and we then get to the best part of the episode. The part where this dense, southern cowgirl, hat-wearing, element of honesty, orange-colored, lesbian, pencil-brained, tree-hugging mule poisons multiple innocent people through improper baking techniques, and also using fentanyl juice that was hidden in a lemon. We're shown the devastating aftermath as Twilight goes to the emergency ICU. Though their bodies breathe, and their moans echo throughout the halls, it is clear that most of them have lost themselves to the devastating poisoning they received. Most of them have lost basic motor functions. Twilight knows what she has to do. Spike is eating the Fent muffins because he's built different. On her way out, Twilight turns up the thermostat to turn the ICU of paraplegics into a vegetable steamer. Time for a deep philosophical discussion that I will dub over 100% accurately. Applejack, listen to me. This has gone too far. What do you mean it's gone too far? What's too far, Twilight? You need to rest. This exhaustion has endangered your life as well as left countless other ponies crippled for life. You know Ponyville Insurance can't pay for all these medical expenses. Don't you blame me. I'm just fine, thank you very much. You must listen. Nuh-uh. Twilight leaves because Applejack is mewing and brain rot doesn't bode well for the bookworm Mary Sue. Okay, you get the idea in the repetition of the episode now. Applejack is tired, screws something up, yada yada yada. Can we get to the resolution?
Yes, Twilight. Yes, please. I could really use your help.
Thank you! Letter to the princess time. Dear Shiny Hiney Silencestia, today I learned that when a dumbass southerner says nuh-uh, you probably need to make them responsible for a national tragedy before they finally admit wrongdoing. By the way, I'm billing Canterlot for the mass poisoning. Not sorry. Ooh-woo. Your understudy, Twinkle Sprinkle.
He's bouncing off my booty cheeks. I love the way he rides.
Oh boy, if it isn't the episode that constructed the entire Rainbow Pass ship. Before we start the bullshit, allow me to say a few things. Number one, I do not want a single ship war argument started in my comments. Second, I'm getting my ship name information from the wiki because research is important once or twice during video making. To bring our final episode of this video to a start, we have Pinkie Pie screaming about Rainbow Dash's existence while Twilight listens uninterestedly. Mostly because she's trying to read a book and is concerned Pinkie might get moist. Her worries don't live long as Pinkie begins her pursuit of the Rainbow Speedy Speed gal who flies overhead. The tsundere Rainbow Faceplant is distracted flying and has a minor impact with a cliff, falling face down flank up in front of Pinkie Pie. Pinkie Pie leans in, using the guise of information to get a closer look at that cyan tomboy booty. I can't believe I just said that. So, I don't know what happened off-screen between the last scene and this scene, but Rainbow Dash is sleeping on a cloud, once again being hunted by her yandere stalker. Derpy makes an appearance. Twilight sells out the hiding Rainbow, who is once again sticking out her gyat for the Pinkie. I have no words. That was awful. Also, look here at this Twilight facial expression I call out. Having broken stealth, and Now We Run starts playing as the point of no return timer starts a tick-tick-tick. Rainbow made it to the first objective marker and receives a call from Bane. After getting informed of the current issues in the heist, Pinkie Pie is here, forcing Rainbow Dash to once again move, with enough force to do this to the low texture setting trees. For the second episode in a row, Rainbow Dash ends up at Twilight's library at a rapid pace, choosing to use Vietnamese strategy by hiding in the trees in hopes to escape her pursuer. She thinks she's safe only for Pinkie to... Oh god, somebody censor that! After hearing some interesting noises, Rainbow Dash zips off again, this time moving faster than Dream when he hears about unsupervised minors in his area. Pinkie Pie is still just doing Pinkie Pie things while thinking about pieing Dash in the mare hood. Dash tiptoes through the sky and it's very funny, I promise you, and flies down to a pond that exists, thinking she can finally breathe easily. Of course not, dumbass. Pinkie Pie is everywhere. She is eternal. You cannot run. Pinkie explains that she wants a favor that Rainbow reluctantly accepts after some deliberation. Pinkie smiles in the same way a Catholic priest does during an all-boys choir recital. Transition fade effect. Woo! We experience an accurate depiction between a general supervisor and the senior construction worker as Pinkie orders Dash around, until Dash eventually lets out some of that pent-up rage in a vocal explosion. Why are these two setting up a cloud? Why? To punish Spike for breaking the fourth wall because he's humming the theme. They do this by waiting for him to pick up this amount of scrolls and then scare the shit out of him with that cloud that can just thunder after being kicked. Perhaps it has a thing for being kicked by tomboys. I do as well. This scares Spike so dramatically that he comes down with a serious case of .mp3 file looping. Spike is chill like that. And the hiccups also activate his fire-breathing ability, so he sends countless scrolls to Princess Celestia's mailbox, while Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie experience homo bonding over the art of being tricksters! Rainbow, being an even bigger trickster, curses Pinkie Pie with the .mp3 curse herself, throwing in this sign-head and compliment before asking Pinkie Pie if she wants to hang out. Pinkie Pie, excited by the premises, begins trick-dodging by pressing circle and holding the left stick in a certain direction, attempting a trick stab that Rainbow Royal guards. We're treated to this mouth-hoof shot that definitely sit in some sick fuck's folder. After a confirmation, Rainbow hits Pinkie with some serious flirting eyes. First stop on this journey is the hat shop from Tomodachi Life. I wonder who'd like a new hat. Get this... what the hell? Rainbow Dash is galloping incredibly slowly here and it makes me uncomfortable. They go to Rarity's home boutique re-education center and we get one out of the 2 times Rarity appears in this episode about racism. What's the harmless prank they pull this time? They gave her a bundle of flowers that Rarity for some reason immediately sniffs, realizing too late that the flowers are covered in pure Sweet Apple Acres cocaine with trace amounts of asbestos, causing her heart to metaphorically explode. The magic inside her prevents any terminal death and long-term wiring, and she gives this little smirk after Pinkie Pie exploits the physics engine to save time. Next on the list is the Sparkle Woman, who is currently trying to make the cure for fentanyl poisoning. Rainbow and Pinkie, unaware of the actual ramifications of their actions, could have replaced her ink with disappearing ink. This also causes Twilight to be distracted during an explosion. For some reason, Twilight also thinks this was all harmless, which this prank was definitely far from all things considered. This now makes 2 times in one episode Pinkie and Rainbow have cosplayed as the Vietnamese. Impressive!
Next on the hit list is Sweet Apple Acres. This time with a combination of speedy skills and Applejack being preoccupied, the dynamic duo painted hundreds of apples on the trees. Applejack acts in reasonable retaliation, launching the apples as projectiles towards the trolls, and though we see the paint is washable, I'm willing to bet its disgusting residue would be left behind. Applejack laughs, which again doesn't make sense to me personally. If I was in this situation, friend or not, I'm throwing hands and bullets.
Wakey wakey, time for double standards. Fluttershy is on Rainbow Snatch's list, but Pinky objects under the concept that Fluttershy is too sensitive and that her feelings will be hurt. Rainbow agrees for some reason, despite being a troll. While figuring out their next victim, Rainbow is the one being made a fool, as the telescope she was looking through increased her chances of getting shot by the police. The two engage in a classic game of down low too slow and start haha guffawing. Fluttershy shows that she still has violent tendencies by decapitating a fake turtle. The sun rises as a new day dawns. Pinkie Pie is being a goober and seeking out Rainbow Dash in the... Wait, what the fuck? So I've watched and rewatched all the good seasons of My Little Pony, and I still can't tell you much about this goofy cloud house. Anyways, Pink calls for Rainbow and... Oh, hello there. Gilda is one of Rainbow's old friends from flight school. She's a griffin, half eagle, half lion, and 100% racist towards ponies. You may wonder, why is she cool with Rainbow Dash if she's racist? Good question. The answer is that historically speaking, even racists can find a member of the race they hate as a good person. Citation: Hitler's Edel Jude comes to mind. Did I pronounce that right? Probably not. That means noble Jew in English for people who aren't big on history or languages. Looking at you, Americans. Gilda is the most overpowered character we've met so far because she has opposable thumbs. Also, here's some Gildash fan service because these two are openly announcing that they probably had casual sex after classes. Or during, who knows. Gilda and Rainbow Dash perform the flight school Serbian lady dance, Gilda giving all the enthusiasm of Boogie 2988 into her performance. That to say, none at all. Pinkie Pie laughs at the performance, Rainbow being more casual about it while Gilda takes a genuine hit to her pride. Pinkie wants to discuss pranks, but Gilda quickly uses the fact that Rainbow and her already had plans to immediately leave. The two start the flying, with Gilda showing off some sick speeds, bruh, and both of them crash into a cloud. They both relax on it when... Jesus Christ! Now, allow me to quickly throw some bullshit at you. In the MLP universe, you've probably noticed a couple of trends. First of all, some ponies have horns, some have wings, some have nothing. These groups are the unicorns, the Pegasus, and the Earth ponies. There's also the princesses, which are alicorns due to the fact they have wings and eldritch magic. Unicorns obviously have access to magic. Pegasus can fly, and Earth ponies can be dirt children. But here's the thing. Something about Pegasus genetics allows them to safely rest on clouds without the use of magic or wings. Unlike both unicorns and Earth ponies, who need a special type of magic spell to walk on clouds, as we will see in a later episode. This is why Pinkie isn't getting stuck in the clouds here. As you'll notice though, Gilda is also resting on the clouds, which can mean a couple of things. One option is that the Pegasus and Griffin both share some sort of trait, despite being entirely different species, or Gilda is not a 50-50 eagle-lion mix. Enough waffling about the cotton candy crack house, let's partake in this invasion of privacy. Gilda is very much unhappy and challenges Dash to another short race to escape. They get a good distance and then argue about who won. Thinking they're in the clear, this doesn't work as Pinkie Pie had enough time to fill about this many balloons with helium and float up to them. She says Dash won, causing Dash to drop this fire-ass roast and Gilda to get even more vitriolic. Another race challenge, and we think they take off, but the dust cloud that magically appeared disappears and now Pinkie Pie is face to face with the racist. Well. You just think you're so clever trying to hold down a good one. You're nothing but a pony, an Earth pony at that. You're lucky to have Rainbow Dash's blessing. Otherwise, I'd send your dirty, grass-hugging, flower-gulping, goldfish skull back to the slums your crying crawled out of. Skip to this timestamp if you don't want to see me waffling. What you just watched was the original video file that was being used as production for this. I'm editing Beanies, you know, the guy, right? And while editing this video, for some reason, my editing software slowly got slower and slower and slower and slower until it was quite physically impossible to get any editing done at all. This video was supposed to come out on Friday and is instead incredulously late because of this bullshit. I'm hoping that the original video file can segue into this next one without looking like complete shit, but I don't have promises because, in my experience, resaving and re-editing a video file over and over again gives it some fucking weird green tint. I hope it's not the case, but we shall see. Enjoy the remainder of the video. She flies off and catches up with Rainbow Dash, relaxing, thinking she's free of the threat when... You! Bold of you to assume you could escape me. Well, there she is. Gilda once again chooses to force a confrontation by telling Dash to go do autistic things, for giving an even more racist and direct warning. You, yes you dirty fucking nil. Come here. Now you listen. Perhaps there was a language barrier between you and I, so allow me to make the words I'm saying brighter than the sun your false god raises. I don't like you half-ass, grain-munching ragbags, so beat it before I bury you in the hayfields you mudheads rely on for food. She finishes by literally attempting to fucking murder Pinkie Pie via aerial vehicle malfunctions. Pinkie Pie is unfazed because she quite literally is too goofy to die. Pain is also a concept that doesn't exist because it legally cannot enter Pinkie's body without her consent. Cut to the library. Twilight and Pinkie are having a conversation about the recent events. Twilight ignores the evidence of attempted murder and tells Pinkie Pie she's just jealous, successfully gaslighting Pinkie into just letting it go. So Pinkie leaves the library without any sort of scene transition effect and is just, what the fuck, where are we? She's walking through this foliage area and monologuing about shit.
Maybe I'm just a big jealous, judgmental, jealousy pants.
What the fuck are you talking about? She tried to kill you! Cut again, now to Pinkie Pie giving head to a milkshake when up above Rainbow Dash and Gilda discuss bullshit. Dash, being a responsible adult, has to take care of her jobs, leaving Gilda to go into town on her various escapades. This includes bullying the elderly, committing petty theft, and terrorizing Fluttershy while she's escorting ducks, giving us a dose of racism. Watch where you're going, airhead. I'm walking here. Those wings of yours are worthless on you, bird horse. Get lost! Ugh. All these cloud humpers and muck swimmers make me sick. I'm leaving this hellhole. Pinkie Pie plots her assassination of Gilda, and we get this freaky scene transition. Pinkie is throwing a party for Gilda and inviting a lot of ponies, which is a conflict of interest, but, you know, whatever. We get various conversations between important characters before we get this god-tier moment from Fluttershy.
I'm a year older than you.
This scene makes me laugh every time for some reason, I'm sorry. Gilda appears. Pinkie first attempts to assassinate Gilda via hidden taser. Unfortunately, the voltage is too low and is seen as a prank. Gilda laughs off her fragile ego and pride and gives Pinkie a threat. After a racial facial, the party begins with a very uncomfortable and angry Gilda. The next assassination attempt disguised as a prank are these... Why am I struggling with this line so much? The next assassination attempt disguised as a prank are these vanilla lemon candies being laced with Fent, and the cup of bullshit Twilight made to counteract it being served in a dribble cup, leaving Gilda forced to rush to get a different glass, which works, so no zombie Gilda today. Her pride is still insulted though. Present time, the first gift she opens reminds me a lot of the first time I met my favorite Minecraft YouTuber. Gilda is still angry. Fluttershy's birds are once again singing Bury the Light as
Cast aside, there's no coming home. We're burning chaos in the wind, drifting in the ocean.
Cake time starts. Spike wants to blow out the candles and gets rejected and abused by someone who isn't Twilight, with Gilda sending him to the Shadow Realm to never be seen again. Twilight is only mildly concerned at the pride and ego that rivals Wolfus. Because she's a lesbian, she isn't used to blowing and fails to extinguish the candles. This is just before the fall that cometh after pride. Gilda is genuinely fucking steaming. Spike is spilled based as shit. Gilda decides to strangle Pinkie Pie behind the birthday cake in a final desperate attempt to keep her cool. Time for the final moment of ego and distrust. Gilda ends up blindfolded by someone who isn't Rainbow Dash, immediately making her uncomfortable. She then gets spun around like a cyclone and stopped suddenly, a very simple set of instructions being given, which is promptly ignored in the same way the government ignores foster children. A slippery situation happens and then Gilda re-enters. One joke sets her over the edge and then... What the shit is happening? I've never in my years of life seen a group of mud munchers as disgusting as all of you. Worthless, disgusting filth of a race. Only one of you is any good. You, Rainbow, come on. We're leaving. You hear me? I said we're leaving. No, Gilda. Not this time. You have no reason to bring race into this. And if you wish only to accept me, whilst rejecting those around me who have similar traits, I have no reason to associate with you. Blow off some steam. Settle that storm in your mind. After that, you and I will talk once more. Gilda receiving the verbal smackdown of her life leaves her in defeat after hurling more slurs and insults at the crowd. Rainbow apologizes to the crowd and then electrically stimulates Pinkie Pie. Letter time. Dear Pifnet Salemshios, today I learned that racism does exist. I also learned that Griffin boss battles suck if you're running the mage build. I can't wait to end racism with the magic of friendship. Your student, Twusno Storkel. Celestia gets pranked, which will most certainly result in some pony getting beheaded. Credits onto the review.
I said stroke 40 guys and 2 big fags.
You've once again made it to the part of the video where I talk about how the episodes made me feel on a personal level, starting off with episode 3. I'm gonna be real, I hate this episode. This plotline is so bad, even SML used a plot like this once, and that shit was awful. The message also falls flat because the only one with a good reason to go is lumped in with the other selfish asshats. And she's the first one to give up the ticket. What the fuck? I just hate the episode, but it's not the absolute worst, and things will get worse from here, so I'll give it a solid 2 out of 5 sparkle fags. Episode 4. This episode is funny. Though Applejack feels slightly dumbed down for the plot to work, it does lead to memorable scenes, such as Applejack committing mass poisoning. The message of asking for help instead of being stubborn is also a good one for the most part. This one gets a solid 3 out of 5 sparkle fags. Episode 5. This episode is great. Gilda's edgy personality being completely fucked with by Pinkie's immense chaos is great. Rainbow and Gilda definitely have a dynamic that doesn't feel as forced as Moans in porn videos. And of course the legendary...
I'm a year older than you.
Yeah, the lesson about only being able to control your actions is basic but novel. Gotta say it. This episode is our first to get 5 out of 5 sparkle fags. Well, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, share with your friends. Or don't. Now if you'll excuse me, I have to open this package from a friend of mine. Oh gosh!